He told everyone we were in a secret long-distance relationship, faked photos of us, and asked his mom for a ring. Now people are calling me cheater. I'm 21 now, and for the first time in my life, I feel like everything is finally falling into place. My boyfriend, 23M, and I just became Instagram official, which felt like a huge step even though we've been seeing each other for about 8 months. He's my absolute best friend, my safe place, and honestly, I believe he's my soulmate. I've never felt this kind of peace in a relationship before, the kind that's calm and steady, where love doesn't come with anxiety attached. We're even in the process of moving in together, and that still feels surreal. Every time I see a box with our names scribbled on it, I get butterflies. The good kind. But of course, life doesn't exist in a vacuum. The past has a way of showing up sometimes, even when you think you've long moved on from it. For me, the person who unexpectedly popped back into my thoughts lately is someone from my high school days. Let's call him David. David was complicated. I grew up in a small town, the kind where everyone knows everyone and friend groups don't really shift much. I had a close-knit group of friends from elementary school, and we pretty much stuck together all through middle and high school. David didn't come into the picture until high school. He wasn't exactly a stranger, but he wasn't someone I grew up with either. When he joined our group, he fit in well enough, quiet, a little sarcastic but friendly. Eventually, we got a part-time job at the same local restaurant. That's when we started getting closer. We were both on the same shifts often, so we talk a lot at work, goof off during slow nights, and carpool sometimes. It felt natural, easy, even. That all changed my sophomore year. Homecoming came around, and I ended up going with another mutual friend of ours, John, also a fake name. There was no romantic thing going on between us, just two friends who didn't want to go alone. But David? David didn't take it well. I remember almost overnight, he started acting different. Cold. Distant. Like I had wronged him somehow, without even realizing it. At first, I thought I was imagining things. Maybe he was just having a rough week or dealing with something at home. But then it became obvious. He stopped sitting with me and John at lunch. Started making little comments here and there. Soon enough, the rest of our friend group started drifting too, as if David had quietly convinced everyone to treat us like we were no longer part of the inner circle. It was like social exile. It hurt, and I couldn't make sense of what I had done to deserve it. Work became awkward. Cold silences. No more inside jokes or shared glances across the dish pit. I kept my head down and tried to keep it professional, but I missed my friend. Eventually, John and I realized we weren't meant to be more than friends, and went back to just that, friends. And like magic, everything reset. David started talking to me again. The friend group let us back in. It was like nothing ever happened. But I never really forgot how quickly he'd turned the switch off. There was something unsettling about that. Then came prom. David asked me to go with him. I said no. Politely but firmly. I told him I was going with my best friend, Tracy. She'd just gotten out of a relationship and we'd planned a whole girls' night out kind of vibe. No dates, just dancing and having fun. But David didn't take no easily. He kept asking over and over, like he thought if he just wore me down, I'd give in. I kept repeating that it wasn't going to happen. What I didn't know until prom night, and I still remember the moment so vividly, was that he had texted Tracy beforehand asking what color dress I'd be wearing. And then showed up in a matching tux. It made my skin crawl. All night he hovered, made comments about how we looked like a couple, or this would have been way more fun if it had been a real date. I smiled through it, tried to focus on Tracy and the music and the fun, but I couldn't shake the discomfort. After that night, I started avoiding him. At work. At school. At group hangouts. Anywhere I could. Something about that prom experience made me realize he didn't just have a crush. There was a sense of entitlement beneath it, and I didn't like it. A few months later, he started dating someone from a town over. I was relieved, honestly. I hoped it meant he was moving on. As for me, I made some decisions I'm not proud of. I got into a couple toxic relationships after high school. I won't go into the details, but let's just say I lost a lot of myself in the process. Those relationships chipped away at my confidence, at how I saw love, and at how I thought I deserved to be treated. During those years, David and I lost touch. He faded out of my life completely. No texts, no accidental run-ins, no awkward likes on old photos. It was like we were never friends at all. And in many ways, that was for the best. I needed distance. I needed space to grow and heal and learn how to trust again. And now here I am, with someone who sees me. Truly sees me. Someone who loves me in all the quiet, steady ways I never thought were possible. We cook together. We plan our future together. We laugh about dumb TikToks and dance around the living room in socks. We are building something real, and it feels like home. But every now and then, I think back to those days. Not because I miss them, far from it, but because they remind me of how far I've come, of who I used to be, of how easy it is to mistake attention for affection, persistence for love. I thought that part of my life was over. Honestly, after I moved away for school and started fresh, I felt like I had finally closed the chapter on everything and everyone from my small-town past, especially David. I had graduated early, packed up my memories, and walked away from the friend group that had once felt like a second family, but now just felt like a room I'd outgrown. I wasn't angry. I just wanted peace. But then, life being what it is, everything started to unravel again in the most ridiculous, surreal way possible. Let me backtrack a little. Right after I broke up with my ex, one of those messy, draining relationships that leaves you hollow and doubting everything, David coincidentally went through a breakup too. Out of nowhere, he reached out. I hadn't heard from him in a while, but I thought, okay, he's hurting. Maybe he just needs a friend. So I listened, like a good friend. I let him vent. He told me about how toxic his relationship had been, how mistreated he felt, how heartbroken he was. And I sat there on the other end of the screen trying to be supportive because I know what it's like to be in a toxic relationship. I knew what it felt like to be emotionally wrung out. But then the conversation shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't just about his ex. It was about me. He started saying things like, I think I'm finally ready to date again. I just wish I could find someone like you. And at first, I didn't even know what to say. I was still processing my own breakup. The last thing on my mind was dating anyone, let alone David, someone I'd made it crystal clear to for years that I was not interested in romantically. So I responded politely. I said something along the lines of, I hope you find what you're looking for, but I'm not ready to date anyone anytime soon. I thought that was direct, honest, respectful. I guess I underestimated just how deep his delusions ran. After that, I stopped reaching out. I was busy with school. I had my own mental health to protect. He, however, kept texting. Every day. Check-ins. Memes. Random updates about his life. Invitations to visit him, or let him come visit me. I replied less and less. Monthly at best. Always with a soft no. Always trying not to be rude. Until eventually, I stopped replying altogether. Ghosted him. I know, not ideal. But I didn't know what else to do. I had told him no every possible way. I was emotionally exhausted. And he didn't seem to understand boundaries. That was months ago. 5 months, to be exact. And now? Now everything's exploded. It all started after I posted a photo of me and my boyfriend on Instagram. A soft, happy, completely normal couple photo. The kind of post that should have just gotten a few likes and, comments. Instead, my DMs blew up like a war zone. People from high school, people I hadn't spoken to in years, were messaging me the most horrible things. Calling me a heartless bitch. Saying I was a liar. A cheater. Telling me I was cruel for doing this to David. At first, I was genuinely confused. Like, what? What are you even talking about? But then I started piecing it together. Apparently, David had told everyone that we had been dating. That we had been doing long distance. That I was the reason he and his girlfriend broke up because we were too in love with each other to deny it. He even told them we went to prom together, which, I can't stress this enough, we absolutely did not. I've already told that story. I said no. Repeatedly. He showed up in a matching tux anyway and made the whole night wildly uncomfortable. And if that wasn't enough, he went and told his mom that he wanted to marry me. He apparently asked her for her ring. I wouldn't have even known that part if she hadn't messaged me herself. Furious. Accusing me of leading her son on. Demanding to know why I was playing with his heart after all these years. I was stunned. And then it all hit me. He had been building this narrative, this entire fantasy, for years. In his head, we were something. Something big. Deep. Real. He spun it into a story he told everyone around him until it was fact in their minds. Meanwhile, I had been saying no for years, in words, in actions, in my complete absence from his life. When I tried explaining the truth to our mutual friends, that we were never together, that I had been turning him down since high school, that I hadn't even spoken to him in months, most of them didn't believe me. They said I was backtracking, that I had used him, that I was a tease, a manipulator, that I had strung him along. It's insane. I'm lucky that my boyfriend and his sister see it for what it is: delusion, obsession. A guy who didn't hear no because he was too busy rewriting reality in his head. They've been incredibly supportive. But I won't lie, it still messes with me. Because how did we get here? How can someone convince themselves and everyone around them that a whole relationship existed when it didn't? How do I come out looking like the villain when I've been saying no since I was 16? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like I'm screaming into the void and no one's listening. But I know who I am. I know what I said. I know what I didn't do. And I refuse to carry the shame for someone else's fantasy. For someone else's inability to accept rejection. A week after the chaos exploded in my DMs, just as I was beginning to catch my breath, another twist landed in my lap. This time it was Carly. Now, Carly is one of those mutual friends from high school who's always stayed somewhere in the middle. Not overly involved in drama, but not completely out of the loop either. She reached out to me through Instagram, not with accusations, not with anger, but with genuine confusion. She said, "Hey, I don't want to stir anything up, but can we talk? I feel like I'm missing a huge part of the story." And honestly, that was the most reasonable message I'd received in days. So I said yes. We scheduled a FaceTime for Sunday, and when the call finally connected, I could tell right away she looked uncomfortable, not hostile, not angry, just like someone who had been told 1,000 tiny lies and was only now starting to realize the whole picture didn't add up. She didn't waste time. She just said, "So, I've talked to David a lot since you moved. And now that everything's come out, I'm just confused. I don't want to assume anything, but he really made it sound like you guys were together." Then she told me everything. After I left for school, David apparently started telling people that we were trying to make long-distance work. Nothing super official, just little hints at first. Things like, "Yeah, she's been busy with school, but we still talk." Or, "She doesn't like to post about her personal life, so I'm keeping things low-key." Then it escalated. He started saying he was visiting me every weekend. Every single weekend. Carly said it became a running thing in the friend group, that David was so committed, so in love, that he would drive or fly out to see me constantly. Everyone thought it was this sweet, long-distance love story. Some of them even told him how lucky I was to have him. But here's the kicker. Apparently, every weekend, David would post good morning snaps on his private Snapchat story, the kind of stories that only a close circle can see. The photos were always the same theme, him in bed, a girl's hair barely visible next to him on the pillow. The hair, according to Carly, was my color. Same length. Same general look. People just assumed it was me. And since I don't use Snapchat, never have, I didn't even know this was happening. I didn't even exist on that platform, but David was using it to build a whole illusion of a relationship with me. Carly said the friend group used to tease him about how I never came to visit him, and every time, he had a quick excuse. "She's just so busy with school. She hates being away from her dog. She wants to keep things private." Excuse after excuse, and no one questioned it. Why would they? He was showing them photos. He was traveling every weekend. He looked like the doting, devoted boyfriend. And it made me sick. That someone could build this lie from the ground up, brick by brick, using fake photos, vague statements, and outright fabrications. I told Carly I had never once traveled to see David. I told her that I hadn't spoken to him in months. I reminded her that I don't even have Snapchat, and never have. She was quiet at first, and I could see it hitting her. The realization that she and so many others had believed a total lie because it was convenient, because it looked real enough on the surface. Then she asked if I had any proof. Not in an accusatory way, more like she wanted to set the record straight. So I sent her screenshots. Messages from over the years, where I turned him down, where I said no, where I stopped responding entirely. I scrolled back years in my text threads just to make sure it was all there, that I wasn't imagining how many times I'd said, "Not interested. Please stop. I don't want anything romantic with you." She read everything. Slowly. And by the time she looked up again, she just said, "Holy SHD. I'm so sorry." Asterisk. I think that was the first time I actually felt seen in this whole situation. Carly told me she was going to talk to some of the others, the people who had come at me with pitchforks and accusations. I told her I didn't need her to defend me, but she insisted. They need to know the truth. And they won't listen to you. But they might listen to me. It was bittersweet. On one hand, I felt vindicated, like I wasn't totally insane. On the other hand, I felt hollow. This wasn't just about David anymore. It was about how easily people believe what they want to believe. How effortlessly someone can rewrite the past if no one is holding them accountable. After everything that had already happened, I didn't think there could be any more surprises. I'd already been blindsided by people I thought were friends, accused of cheating in a relationship that never existed, and had to face the unsettling realization that someone I barely spoke to anymore had rewritten our entire history to suit his fantasy. I was emotionally drained, just trying to move forward. But then came the next hit. During one of our follow-up conversations, Carly asked me a question that made my stomach turn. Has David ever sent you pictures of you two together recently? With your face in them? I blinked, completely caught off guard.
What?
What do you mean by recently? She told me that David had started sharing photos with my face in them over the last month, the most recent one being from just last weekend. She described the photo. It was supposedly of me and him sitting on a park bench together. He'd send it around to our mutual friends, casually saying something like, "We're finally getting more comfortable showing our relationship now." And for a second, I froze. Because I knew I hadn't been anywhere near David in years. I hadn't seen him since high school. There was absolutely no way a real photo like that could exist. Then came the kicker. Since high school, I've gotten full arm tattoos, floral sleeves that wrap around both arms. They're vibrant, detailed, and hard to miss. And Carly said in the photo my arms were bare. No ink. No tattoos. Nothing. That was the moment something in my brain shifted. I'd been trying to rationalize all of this. That David had maybe lied out of loneliness, or desperation, or some twisted sense of affection. But this was calculated. This was deliberate. I asked Carly to send me the photos. And when I opened them, my blood ran cold. There I was, sitting on a bench beside David. Or someone who looked like me. Except my arms were bare. The longer I looked, the more I noticed how off everything was. The lighting was strange. The contrast was weird. And all the pictures were in black and white, almost like they were trying to mask something. I showed them to my boyfriend, hoping he'd say something like, "Oh, that's obviously not you." But instead, he leaned in, quiet and focused, then pointed to the bottom right corner of one of the photos. There it was. A tiny watermark. A faint, nearly erased stock image logo. That's when it clicked. He wasn't using real photos. He was either digging through stock images to find people who looked vaguely like me, or worse, using old photos of me and manipulating them with Photoshop. He pointed out another photo that looked oddly familiar, and after a bit of digging, we figured it out. The background was one I recognized from a photo my mom had posted on Facebook over 6 years ago. The weirdest part? The version David shared had a slightly different body, more curves, bigger chest, wider hips. Subtle changes, but they were there. He had edited me. This wasn't just a delusion anymore. This was obsession, projection, fabrication. I had become a character in his own private movie, a movie he decided was real, regardless of my consent, involvement, or truth. I sent the screenshots, the evidence, and my side of the story to every person who had accused me of cheating, of being cruel, of being a heartbreaker. I even sent it to David's mom, who, if you'll remember, had previously messaged me angrily about breaking her poor son's heart. I didn't say much in those messages. Just attached the photos, my proof, and said, "I hope you see the truth now." Then I blocked all of them. My mom ended up blocking a bunch of people too, especially people she didn't recognize who had somehow ended up on her Facebook. We're still not sure if David had been stalking her page to get photos of me or if he created fake accounts to get past her privacy settings. Either way, it was enough. My boyfriend and I made a decision that night. We weren't going to pursue legal action just yet, not unless this escalates. But we are taking safety seriously now. He ordered 2 new outdoor security cameras the next day. We're placing one facing our front door and another watching the back. We're looking into motion sensors and a ring system for alerts. I added pepper spray to my keychain, and we've started keeping our doors double-locked even when we're home. I'm even considering taking a self-defense class once I settle into my new routine. Because the truth is, I'm scared. I hate that I have to say that. I hate that a lie turned into a threat. But I'd rather be scared and prepared than scared and naive. To anyone reading this who has gone through something similar, who's been stalked, lied about, manipulated, or harassed, I am so sorry. The world is a terrifying place sometimes, and the worst part is how alone it can make you feel. I'm lucky to have a supportive partner, but even with him by my side, there were moments I felt insane. Gaslit. Like maybe I had done something wrong. But I didn't. And neither did you. It is not our fault when someone else builds a fantasy out of us. You are not responsible for someone else's delusion. This experience changed me. It made me sharper, more cautious, and yes, maybe a little colder toward people I used to trust without question. But it also made me stronger. It reminded me of my voice. It showed me the power of speaking up even when others try to drown you out. So, to close this off for now, thank you to everyone who supported me, believed me, or even just read my story with an open mind. You helped me remember that my truth matters. And if anything major happens again, I'll come back and update. But for now, I'm reclaiming my peace. And I hope you do too.